Have you ever really thought about it? I mean, the actual places where Jesus walked? Well, today, we're going to trace his footsteps through 22 key locations that really defined his ministry. We'll be drawing on the Gospels, of course, but also on the fantastic research of Pastor Luis Mario Ruiz to follow a journey that, and this is no exaggeration, literally changed the world.
And this one verse, it's basically our roadmap for this whole thing. It tells us that Jesus' ministry wasn't just a series of random stops. Not at all. It was a journey with a purpose, a clear beginning, a mission, and a known destination. He was always on the move, always pressing forward to get the work done. So 22, that's the number. The scale of this journey is just incredible when you stop and think about it. We're going to explore 22 different cities and places that are mentioned in the Gospels. And each one is like a milestone on his path, a stage where a huge part of his story played out, from his very first miracle to his final moments. Okay, so let's start where it all began. This first phase is all about setting the stage. We're talking his birth, his quiet upbringing, and then those really dramatic events that officially kicked off his public ministry. This is the foundation for everything that's about to come. Man, the year 27 was a total whirlwind. It all kicked off with his baptism in the Jordan River and his first disciples starting to follow him. Right after that, you have the first miracle at Cana, and then by April, he's in Jerusalem for Passover, making this huge statement by cleansing the temple. That was a direct challenge to the powers that be. And with that, the mission was on, for real. So you've got these three key spots that really anchor his early life. Bethlehem, where it all started, Nazareth, his hometown where he grew up, and then the Jordan River, that's the big one, the site of that major public launch where his ministry truly begins. Okay, so this is a really important shift. After leaving Nazareth, Jesus sets up a new base of operations in Capernaum. Now, this wasn't just a random place to live. It was a strategic move. Capernaum was a bustling town on major trade routes, which made it the perfect hub to get his message out to as many people as possible as he traveled all over the region. So, with Capernaum as his home base, things just explode. His ministry takes off across the entire region of Galilee. His message about the kingdom of God begins to spread like wildfire, touching lives in towns and villages everywhere.
And the pace? It was just relentless. I mean, look at this. In Cana, he turns water into wine. Over in Nain, he raises a widow's son from the dead. In places like Bethsaida and Chorazin, he's constantly healing people and teaching huge crowds. And then, of course, there's Magdala, which connects us to Mary Magdalene. It's like every single town has its own powerful story.
But here's where it gets even more interesting. Jesus' mission doesn't just stay within the borders of Galilee. He starts pushing the boundaries, actually going into non-Jewish territories, which was a pretty radical move at the time, showing that the scope of his message was bigger than anyone realized. Yeah, this really breaks it down for us. On one hand, you have his main focus, right? The Jewish heartlands. But on the other, he's making these deliberate trips out to Gentile regions like Tyre and Sidon. And that story about the Syrophoenician woman's daughter? Wow, it's like this little hint, a sneak peek, that this message isn't just for one group of people. It's for everybody. And then we get to this moment. This is the big one, the turning point. Up in Caesarea Philippi, after all the miles, all the teaching, all the miracles, Jesus finally asks them, point blank, "Who do you say I am?" And Peter's answer, it just changes everything. From that confession on, the whole conversation shifts. Jesus starts talking plainly about what's going to happen in Jerusalem. The final journey is about to begin. So after that huge confession from Peter, the whole vibe just changes. The focus is no longer on the bustling ministry in Galilee. Now, it's this very intentional, very deliberate journey south. Every step, every word, everything is now pointed toward one single destination, Jerusalem. And this line from the gospel, man, it's just so powerful. He set his face to go to Jerusalem. That's not casual language. That's determination. This is it. This marks the solemn, purposeful start of the final chapter of his earthly journey. There's absolutely no turning back now. Okay, so let's trace the route. He leaves Galilee and heads down through Perea, which was a region east of the Jordan River. It was actually a common route for Jewish travelers trying to avoid going through Samaria. And along the way, he stops in Bethany to perform one of his most jaw-dropping miracles, right before making that final climb up to Jerusalem.
Now, On this final road to Jerusalem, there are a couple of really crucial stops we have to talk about. First, in Jericho, he heals a blind man named Bartimaeus. But then, Bethany. It's just a stone's throw from Jerusalem, and there he raises his friend Lazarus from the dead. I mean, can you imagine? This miracle was so big, so public, it was basically the final straw for his enemies. It sealed his fate.
And here we are, the climax. The whole journey, every step, has been leading to this 1 week in and around the city of Jerusalem. This is where the mission reaches its dramatic and powerful conclusion. So the final week kicks off in this little village, Bethphage, right on the edge of Jerusalem. And from there, he rides into the city, the triumphal entry. You have crowds shouting his praises, hailing him as a king. The tension must have been absolutely electric. The stage is set. Then we come to the Garden of Gethsemane. It's here, at the foot of the Mount of Olives, that Jesus prays this agonizing prayer, fully accepting what's about to happen. And it's in that moment of vulnerability that he's betrayed and arrested. And just like that, the final unstoppable events are set in motion. And this is where that path of sacrifice ends. Golgotha, the place of the skull, right outside the city walls. This is where he's crucified, the absolute culmination of the mission he came to fulfill. And then, in a way, the earthly journey comes full circle. It ends right back on the Mount of Olives, pretty much where this final, intense week began. After his resurrection, he gives his followers their final instructions, and then he ascends into heaven, completing that grand arc that started when he came into the world. So we followed his footsteps across 22 locations, hundreds of miles. But the impact of that journey, well, it didn't just stop with his ascension. In a very real way, that was just the beginning. The ripples from that journey are still being felt today.
So, what's the takeaway from all this? What does tracing these steps really show us? Well, it's pretty clear this was way more than just a trip on a map, right? It was a spiritual odyssey. It moved from the proclamation of a totally new kind of kingdom through the ultimate sacrifice, all the way to a final, stunning victory over death itself.
And that brings everything right down to a really personal level. The idea the sources leave us with is that Jesus' journey isn't just a historical event locked in the past. It's presented as an ongoing invitation. The same Jesus who walked the roads of Galilee now, in a spiritual sense, stands at the door and knocks. So it kind of leaves us with one big question to think about. What does that journey mean for us right here, right now?